Afternoon, guys. It's Jeff. I'm back again. Been a while since I uploaded. Took a bit of a break from doing YouTube videos. I felt personally some of the topics I was covering was getting a little repetitive as well, so I just took a bit of a break. So I'm going to talk about something a little different that I haven't spoken about today, and it's WWE wrestling. Now, for those of you who follow me and couldn't care less about wrestling, just listen on for a bit because this plays into a much wider story. Those who are fans, probably know what I'm about to talk about. And I will just preface this before any of you guys start writing hate comments at me, because I know what you can be like. I am a wrestling fan myself, okay? Have been for over 30 years. Started with the old World of Sport wrestling that was on British TV. Watched WWE, WCW, ECW, ROH, TNA, New Japan. Just, and a few others or whatever that I've watched over the years. So glad we'll get that out of the way. I am one of you guys, so just don't react with a mob mentality because I'm going to criticize the WWE, all right? And I'm going to try and be as fair and balanced as I can be to the WWE, even though I've got a massive issue with what they're doing here. So the news story is that there was a big show they've got coming up, which has been very controversial. They're planning to go ahead with it. WWE Crown Jewel will take place November the 2nd in Riyadh in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So now non-wrestling fans, do you understand why this is a bit controversial? Because I think if anyone knows why doesn't know why Saudi Arabia has been in the news the last few weeks, you've been living under a rock. I will just for very briefly, for those, if there is anyone out there that doesn't know this, the story was that Saudi journalist and political dissident Jamal Khashoggi was lured into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, was clearly murdered there by the Saudis. They changed their own line on this a whole number of times. But eventually more or less admitted that yes, he was murdered inside there. And yesterday the Crown Prince made this statement saying that he was shocked, and basically the people who did this were rogue agents. Pretty much nobody believes him. Some have even speculated that the Crown Prince himself may have ordered the murder. We do not know that to be true, so it's just pure speculation. But I don't think anyone believes his narrative about rogue agents. So how does WWE kind of fit into this and this whole thing with Saudi Arabia? Now, the Prince here is an interesting in respect to this, because Prince Mohammed bin Salman has been on a bit of a mission, I suppose, to try and present himself to the West as a bit of a reformer. And as Saudi Arabia as being this very vibrant, progressive, liberal nation that's changing and reforming. I mean, like the big thing they've been saying is about the fact that, women are allowed to drive cars in Saudi Arabia now. Wow. But really the reforms don't go any beyond anything more superficial than that, quite frankly. This is still a regime where women are second-class citizens. This is still a regime where you can be, that does not allow free speech. Still is a regime with atrocious human rights records. So this is not a progressive regime. I'm going to put that right out there now. This is not. But one of the things the Prince has been doing there, and he worked with the what they call them, the General Sports Authority of Saudi Arabia, was to sign a deal with WWE to bring a whole number of shows there over a 10-year period. It's a big money deal for WWE. Sort of, introduce a bit of Western culture or whatever to Saudi Arabia, and as part of this whole PR exercise he's trying to go on here. Okay. So, but you can probably appreciate why there's, in light of recent events, why there's been a little bit of pressure on WWE to maybe not go ahead with this event. But they are going ahead with it, and I'll quickly read you their statement before I give my thoughts on this thing. WWE has operated in the Middle East for nearly 20 years and developed a sizable and dedicated fan base, Considering the heinous crime committed at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, the company faced a very difficult decision as it relates to its event scheduled for November the 2nd in Riyadh. Similar to other US-based companies who plan to continue operations in Saudi Arabia, the company has decided to uphold its contractual obligation to the General Sports Authority and stage the event. Full year 2018 guidance is predicated on the staging of the Riyadh event as scheduled. Okay, so that's this statement. 2 or 3 things out of that statement, which I'm going to say. Contractual obligations. I'll get if WWE has a contractual obligation here, they may not be able to get out of this. There may be legal ramifications for them if they do, and certainly financial ones. And I understand that business is business. This is a huge money deal and a long-term deal for them. It was something like $450 million over 10 years or something, I believe, was the numbers I've heard bandied about for what this deal is worth. So I understand from their perspective why they would sign it into a deal like this. At the end of the day, they're a business. They're a publicly traded company. They got shareholders and that they're accountable to, who want, and they want to make money. Understandable. Secondly, other US and Western companies that are based in Saudi Arabia and continuing operations. I get it, because people are going to say, why pick on the WWE, and I totally understand that. And they're probably not the worst company by a long stretch that's operated in Saudi Arabia. And I think one of the big downsides, in a sense, in living under globalist, capitalist system kind of thing, that it's pretty difficult to try and boycott every single company in the world that is doing something unethical or has got a skeleton in its closet, or because there's so many of them so many of them are over exploiting people, or in bed with a bad regime, or environmental issue, whatever the issue might be. It is difficult. So again, why pick on the WWE? I guess my own issue with the WWE over this kind of came when they did a show earlier this year in Saudi Arabia, in Jeddah, called Greatest Royal Rumble. This was the first of their shows that they put on, and I guess what made me a bit uncomfortable was really the video packages that were left a bad taste in my mouth, because they really blatant propaganda for the Saudi regime. And it was the whole, look at this fluffy new Saudi Arabia, which we know is not representing reality at all. It is like I said, it's all superficial, cosmetic PR as far as I can see, and it left a bad enough taste in my mouth that I kind of felt compelled to cancel my subscription to the WWE network over it. It just left a bad taste in my mouth, personally, for me. Now again, a wrestling show in Saudi Arabia, are they doing the work? Are they necessarily the worst by a long stretch of the imagination? No, of course not. I mean, I'd like to see something that's more seriously done, like maybe the British and American government stop selling arms to them for a start. Would be something I would perhaps like to see. But when they do stuff like this, but yeah, it's just a personal thing to me, though, that that propaganda WWE were doing for the Saudi regime was, to me, it left a bad taste in my mouth for me personally. One more quick thing I'll say about this. I do think now maybe this whole thing is going to blow over. In a couple of months, people will get on with their lives, and I'm sure WWE are counting on this themselves. But it may not do, and this might really have a long-term bad effect for their publicity. This is a company, I'll say, who have tried very hard over the last 10 years to tidy up their own image, because they have been subjected to a lot of bad press in the past. Some of it, I'll say, was a little unfair. Some of it very, very warranted. But they are a company that is not, it's no stranger to bad press and you know um and scandal even. Um, but a lot of the equity they might have built up in the last sort of 10 years or so, how they've tried to tidy their image up. They may have done a lot to wipe a lot of that out in just by going ahead with this. But again, I understand it may have been a very difficult thing for them to get out of. Maybe, I mean, maybe you had the State Department ordered them not to go or something, or, um, then maybe they might not have gone, and because that would have put a whole different spin on the whole thing anyway. But I personally wish they hadn't have done this, but I'm not that surprised that they did. Um, but those are just my feelings on it. I am, I have kind of checked out on them, and but like I said, I understand. Look, I'll just say to wrestling fans, I'm just going to ask you nicely. I can understand. I've seen it before on the internet, and especially on YouTube, the kind of mob mentality when someone knocks WWE. I'm going to ask you to try and keep it civil if you can. All right, in the comments section. Um, so we'll that's all I'm asking. On this one. But anyway, I would still be interested to know what you think though. So, okay, I'll see you guys later. All right, see ya. Right, bye bye. Salute.